He's no longer inside me.
FBI, open up!
Blackluster Soldier, an archetype that's been historically really goddamn bad in Duel Links. And in fact, the whole of Yu-Gi-Oh for that matter. But hopefully, with the release of the new skill, that's all going to change. Blackluster Soldier is now only half bad. It still sucks absolute ass going first, but going second, oh boy can you ooga booga face roll your way straight through your opponent's life points. So here's today's deck list. And just a reminder before I get into the deck list, if you guys are enjoying today's video and want to see more content just like this in the future, especially if you're a returning viewer, so apparently about 35% of people watching this are even subscribed to the channel, meaning 65% of you haven't even subscribed yet. So if you guys are enjoying this content and will see more deck lists from me in the future and more videos just like this in the future, remember to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing to the channel down below. Alright, let's jump into this deck list. Alright, so today's deck list is obviously going to be Blackluster Soldier. Now the first thing you'll probably notice about this deck list is it's not 20 card, which, as you guys know, I'm a very avid sort of supporter of 20 card deck lists. I hate playing deck lists over 20 cards most of the time. 99% of things I upload are going to be 20 card deck lists, as that's when the deck lists are the most consistent. But in this scenario, it's actually worse to play 20 cards, because your skill will allow you to be able to search for basically your ritual monster and your ritual spell as well. So you do not want to open these cards because your skill will give them to you for free. If you open them, they're just going to mean one less tech card to have. So you want to run enough cards where you draw these cards not very often while still having a high ratio of actual searches and stuff to try to get a hold of your standard Blackluster Soldier, which is what starts off the skill. It's kind of hard to explain until I've explained the skill, so let's just explain the skill. The skill is called the Soul of Light and Darkness, and this skill, it is a mouthful to try to read it, and honestly, trying to explain the skill by reading the text is a lot worse than me just trying to explain it by myself, so I'm just going to try and explain it to you. So what this skill does is essentially, it puts all this shit in your graveyard, which is a lot of crap. But the most important card in here is going to be your Super Soldier Ritual. This card you can banish from your graveyard along with a light and a dark, to then special summon out a ritual monster from your hand without needing any sort of ritual spell. Then you can actually put this card and the stuff you banished back in the graveyard to search for a ritual monster. And if the initial monster you ritual summoned is a just standard Blackluster Soldier, not any of the special ritual monsters or anything like that, you can then add any of your ritual spells and set them straight to the field. That's basically what the skill does. If you didn't understand that, don't worry, the gameplay will show it off and it's not actually that complex. But the other main thing to note about this skill is that it's not a once per duel thing. The search for the ritual spell is once per duel, but everything else isn't once per duel. So you can just keep special summoning out these Blackluster Soldiers from your hand without actually needing any ritual spells to do so. And it's a really powerful skill, it's just a little bit complex to try to read. Now as for the actual main deck itself, there isn't really a whole lot for me to actually talk about, since the actual deck list is, well, all just really old cards you guys have all seen before. There's only actual one brand new card in all of this deck list, and that's going to be the Blackluster Soldier Legendary Swordsman, which is your new boss monster. This card can be ritual summoned using a Chaos form or Super Soldier Ritual. Must be ritual summoned. During your draw phase before you draw, you can reveal this card in your hand, give up your normal draw this turn. If you do, add one ritual spell from your deck to your hand. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects during your battle phase. When this attacking card that was ritual summoned using a normal monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can shuffle all cards your opponent controls back into the deck list. And keep in mind, your skill puts a Dark Magician in the graveyard, which is obviously a normal monster, and also puts a Kribo in your graveyard. So just by activating Chaos Form, you can use both of those monsters, and you'll be able to summon this thing with that bonus effect attached to it, meaning you can shuffle all of your opponent's monsters back into the deck, all their spell and trap cards back into the deck as well, if you ever get into the battle phase. Because essentially, you try to get this card into the battle phase as often as possible. A lot of the time, you can even sort of bait your opponent into just letting you go into battle phase because they don't know what this card does, and then you just nuke their entire field. It's a really nasty card, but only if you make it to the battle phase. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the deck list portion of the video. Like I said, the rest of the cards in here are just all old cards you guys have probably seen before, so not a whole lot of point me going through them, so without further ado, let's just jump into some gameplay. Alright, today I've got 5 replays to share with you guys, all of which were gathered in Legend, and all of which were gathered as part of a nice little spree I went on where I climbed up from Legend 1 into Legend 2. Now, I played a billion other variations of this deck list, as a lot of people in my Discord would know. I played so many different variations, and a lot of them were just really jank, causing a lot of demotions. So it took a long time to reach a list that I was actually really happy with, so hopefully you'll enjoy these replays. I'm really not sure about this archetype though, or this skill in general. I think it's definitely a good enough skill for like a King of Games grind or something like that, but if you're going to take it to like a tournament or something, it's very, it's definitely a lot better going second than going first. Your going first plays are super limited, so I'm not sure about that one. It might do it right in a KC Cup or something like that, because they thrive on OTK style decks, which this deck list is an OTK deck, so... Anyways, let's get into it. Alright, so first thing we're doing, activating our ritual spell in the graveyard given to us via the skill to banish a light and a dark. Then special summon out a BLS from hand without needing any sort of ritual spell. Alright, activating our skill, which then lets us search for a Black Cluster Soldier. This is actually a fairly bricky hand. Normally you want to try to open this card as often as possible, because this is the best way to open your most optimal end fields. But in this case, we just had to go with a very, set up for next turn sort of a play. Setting a Book of Moon and passing. Thankfully we're against Toons though, and Toons, they're not actually that great at OTK and going first, because a lot of the time they just want to set up, so, or going second, so they actually want to set up their field first. So he's grabbing his Toon Kingdom, so his things are untargetable. Gets his Toon Dark Magician, so he can search for a Toon Briefcase, or whichever one he's searching for. Setting and passing. Alright, now we can actually play the game, because we can actually use this BLS in hand. So once again, exact same skill again. We're going to be banishing the card from graveyard to summon out the BLS from hand. This triggers the skill to then let us search for a BLS. Returning its banished cards back to the graveyard and searching for a ritual spell. In this case, we chose Chaos Form. Alright, now I want to get rid of some of this back row, because currently, we know he's got that briefcase, and that briefcase is going to ruin any chance of me winning this game if I can't get rid of at least something in that back row. So we're discarding a card, popping the back row. Unfortunately, didn't hit the briefcase, which is a bit annoying, so I'm going to now summon out my Envoy and go for a Unicorn. Unicorn's actually going to get rid of this card and not the briefcase, because currently this thing on the field, even if I got rid of the briefcase, this dude wouldn't be able to deal with it. He just summoned out a, wouldn't be able to deal with his field, because obviously this thing protects his monster from destruction, and then I'd be in a very big spot of bother, because he'd summon out a Toon from deck and have lethal on field next turn. So I need to get rid of this Dark Magician now. So I shuffle this card into the deck, use my Book of Moon, turn this thing face down, and beat over it. And he's still very scared about using this briefcase, because he knows I've got this in hand, and a ritual spell on field. Fortunately, he's a bit lucky and top decks super well. So I'm really on the search for Toon Kingdom again here. I think he was just scared I had like another Book of Moon or something, and this Knightmare Unicorn would beat over his DM or something. He was just scared he'd lose it. But either way, I'd opened another Black Cluster Soldier, which I just special summon to the field. Still not going to play into this Toon Kingdom though, or this briefcase. So another BLS. He still doesn't use the briefcase for some reason. I don't know why he's not activating briefcase. I can't even summon, I couldn't summon this card, I used my ritual spell, but anyway. You can see it's because he only has 500 attack on field, and he was dead on field. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, Mr. Saitama, or whatever his name was. Bit of an interesting game, though. I'm so glad Konami actually let this deck use Link monsters. If this deck couldn't use Link monsters, it'd be so much worse. Just having access to a lot of different removal sources could be really useful. And also the Fire Warrior dude at the start is also really useful, as I think you'll see in this game. Alright, Senju searching for my Black Cluster. Oh, Manju, sorry. Banishing the 3. Searching for my dude, placing the ritual spell on field. This time I'm going to be grabbing my Super Soldier Synthesis this time. That's because we actually have a level 4 light in hand, so by doing so, we can summon out our dude using the Evening Twilight, meaning I now have a quick effect, not quick effect, I have an effect that allows me to then banish a card from my opponent's hand until their next end phase. I'm going to use the last 2 cards on field to go into a Ferocious Flame Swordsman, meaning I now have 2 floaters on field, so even if I get Darkhold, if my opponent somehow destroys both these cards, they actually both float into different monsters. This one will float into a Gaia, and this one will float into any warrior monster. Alright, and we've also got you know, Cosmic and Crackdown too, so this field is pretty cracked. Alright, Sun Daddy's monster. I'm gonna wait on everything. I've got no real reason to use my back row yet. He summons out a second BLS. Have I been skipping the animation for my field? Wait a minute. Crackdown, yoinking his monster, because if we go into the battle phase, obviously I can't use my card effects, so I'm obviously going to yoink this thing before the battle phase. Yeah, there's his field gone. Alright, replay number 3. And this replay I think is the brick hand, but I wanted to show off this specific interaction, or it might be the next duel actually. One of these replays is a specific interaction I wanted to show off. It could be this one. Oh yeah, it was this one. So this isn't exactly, my opponent didn't do a whole lot here, but I wanted to show off this specific interaction. So if you don't open your ritual monster or a way to access a ritual monster, your hand isn't technically a brick still, as long as you've opened a Envoy, because your skill will just work as long as you actually have a BLS summoned to the field. So when a Cosmic one of his back row, get rid of this polymerization, banish a light and a dark to summon this dude, he'll warding point it. But because I actually summoned a Blackluster Soldier, I can use my skill searching for a ritual. I should not have searched for this ritual, by the way, because this one, I kind of forgot that you need to specifically ritual summon it using a normal monster for it to get its battle effect. So I just summoned a monster with no effect. I should have just summoned out one of the other Blackluster Soldiers, probably the one that has the float on it. But it's fine, because my opponent had literally nothing anyway, and we had full setup, so... And he's gone. Alright, on to the next one. Yeah, I'm not sure on how good this deck list actually is in tournament play, but it's definitely a coggable deck list. And there's actually plenty of examples on DLM already of people that have cogged with it, so it's definitely a decent deck. It's just, yeah, it's probably not... I'm not super keen on taking it to like a tournament or something, I don't think. Unless it's KC Cup, because they love OTK decks. Alright, discarding. Activating my Super Soldier Synthesis. Apparently I'm starting the duel with this. So activating this card's effect can now get rid of a card in my opponent's hand. Honestly, an awful infield. Very bricky infield, actually. So, yeah, not the greatest. But it's fine, because thankfully, apparently that one discard was enough to make it so my opponent couldn't really do a whole lot. He was probably playing Orcus or something and needed 2 monsters and a bunch of back row. Alright, turn passes back. Oh no, he's playing S-Force actually. Alright, this thing actually has 2 effects, by the way, thanks to the Evening Twilight. It can banish monsters on the field, and it can discard cards in hand. So we banish this card, banish the card in hand again. Summon another BLS. Apparently he had Book of Moon and didn't Book of Moon this thing immediately. I'm pretty sure if he Book of Moons this, it removes the, I think it removes the effects of Twilight. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Either way. But as you can see from that replay alone, going first, there's not a whole lot you can do if you don't just draw Crackdowns, or if you don't draw your Book of Moons, or if you don't draw your, at least the hand rip. At that time, I think I got lucky with my hand rip, meaning he probably couldn't play the game. It was just a lucky-ass hand rip, but... yeah. But going second, as you'll see in this game, this deck thrives. It loves it. Alright, Pendulum Call, discarding, summoning out the 2 scales, or placing the 2 scales. We've opened the God Hand of a Book of Moon and a Cosmic. So we're good against back row, and we're pretty good against monsters too, unless he has an absurd infield. Most of the time, thankfully, to the Orcus bands, most of their own fields are just like setting up one Synchro Summon or something, which I think is what he sets up here. Yeah, just sets up one Synchro Summon. So we can Cosmic him. Activate Book of Moon. Force him to Synchro Summon. There's his Clearwing. And yeah, now we can just do whatever we feel like. Manju searching the Black Cluster Soldier, banishing 3. Grabbing the other guy, Chaos Form. Banishing another 2, summoning him out. Hitting him, wiping the entire field. And now even if he survived the turn, he would have literally no follow-up, so he's just dead, just completely dead. Alright guys, that's gonna do it for today's replays. Hope you guys enjoyed them. If you did, remember to leave a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next one. Laters.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.